So this past week, I've been looking at a number of things uh, of the language of uh, things on the internet. It still amazes me, and I know some of this stuff originates in some organization, but I saw several articles about the right way to right size is the name of this episode, and right sizing seems to be the word being used as companies release people, and it has to have come from some HR group, would be my guess, because they seem to like to wordsmith things in order to smooth over what's going on. So, you know, but this is where we're at as a country at the moment, and as a globe. So people seem now to be afraid of the word downsizing. I don't like the word either. However, changing it to right sizing is doesn't help much. There's supposed to be some differences, but they're not significant. But supposedly, the word right sizing from some of the articles I read is associated with, um, you know, trying to save the organization's brand. You need to protect that brand, even though you're still laying off people. Um, and it's to get to instead, right sizing means that you need to get to the right size of people and the needed skill sets that are out there, rather than like downsizing. Well, that's just cutting indiscriminately. But uh, you know, saving top performers is another word that I saw in many of the articles. Um, you know, Maintaining uh, the right number of employees. I mean, these are all things that I I don't know that they help. I know downsizing has a bad connotation only because I don't believe organizations do it correctly. Um, the, and there's other reasons why that happens. But in episode 89, which has actually been a very popular episode, I talked about executives, prepare for a depression, meaning, what are you going to do? My suggestion was, that you're going to need to innovate starting now if you haven't started already. And that, if push comes to shove, the first thing you need to do as an organization is cut the dividend. And I always get some interesting responses when I say that to executives. Oh, no, we can't do that. Um, Cutting executive bonuses, that's actually met with even more pushback, and their own salaries first. And to me, this sets a leadership tone, right? We're doing everything we can. The economy is getting bad, and I separate this from bad decisions. That's a whole nother episode. But in essence, the economy falling apart. Take the pain first as an executive group. Um, People will respect that a lot more after things clear up, rather than being the organization that's just going to start cutting people, whether it's indiscriminately or because you have to get to the right size and the needed skill sets that you have for your organization. uh, and then in episode 93, I talked about the bold prediction for 2023, saying that um, you know a lot of large organizations are full of people in positions, and maybe I should say that they have roles within their organization that don't add value. And one of those is this whole ESG DEI stuff, and really DEI is the S of environmental, social, and governance. And I'll be having a lot more to say about that. And I'm contemplating putting out another channel just to address that. But what the things that you need to be doing, whether you call it right sizing or downsizing or whatever, is, there should be a constant review of the design of your organization to do it customer in. And for whatever reason, most organizations, instead of focusing in on the design of their organization, they're always looking for top performers. It's kind of like a unicorn. There's always going to be some people at the top. There's always going to be some people at the bottom, and a whole bunch of people in the middle. And from my perspective, my whole system is set up on how do I improve the entire system rather than focusing on just a few performers. You get a lot more out. A little bit movement, improvement of your system will get a lot more than trying to find the unicorns out there of top performers. But that's what HR does. That's what one of the things that they believe their manifest destiny is in organizations, is to find that unicorn. And then so designing customer in, developing your synthetic thinking skills as an organization, as executives within that organization. That's the first step to really, from my perspective, you want to right size or constantly, what do I need here? What really creates value in my organization? And that kind of bleeds into the second thing, which is, for whatever reason, whenever there's a fall in demand or the economy gets weak, the first group that goes are your in organizations typically is the customer facing people, the people that deal with your customers every day. Let's cut those people. And the support areas and managers are left pretty much untouched. Now, I've seen some things, and obviously customers I've had, past, present, and future, I've always advocated for them to look at the fat and support areas and managers. But there are a lot of I don't know, use the word sycophants within the organization that really have, oh, but I like that person is kind of what I get. Oh, they're valuable, but what way are they actually valuable? And when you start digging into it, there's a lot of fat in support areas, in HR and finance and IT, and those are all support areas in your organization that, from a customer perspective, they don't create value within your organization. And so you need to look to those first, whether you have personal relationships with those people or not. Just cutting the customer-facing people, because if demand comes back, now you got to train people to interact with customers, those types of things. And it's typically the same organizations they run into of their customer-facing employees are some of the worst paid within their organization. And I don't understand that particular mentality, but it's the prevailing mentality in organizations. So even when they cut, they have to cut a lot, because that's not cutting the amount of financial issues that you have within your organization, because those aren't the highest salaries within your organization. So that's the second suggestion, is other than doing a designing customer in, realizing you're going to get a benefit from the entire organization, and knowing whether you have the right amount of support people in association with those that the customer see as creating value for them, is being the first thing that you do. And then the second thing being that look to the support areas. There's typically a ton of fat there, and when times are good, it's kind of like what we've seen. There have been a lot of loose money out there, and so it's created these large behemoth organizations that don't actually create a profit. The ones that I can think of are DoorDash, and we can see what's going on with Twitter right now. I mean, it's probably a $5 billion company bought for $44 billion. And you start to see some of the videos come out of, being there is, we get, manicures, and we get the sleep pods that you see at Google, or, yoga, and, coffee. areas in the organization, there's all this excess that is going to be going away. So going back to my original message in episode 89 about preparing for a depression, we are headed there no matter what the market's doing today or tomorrow or whatever. The excesses that we've been living for the last 10, 20 years and the amount of debt accumulated, and no, it doesn't have anything to do with price gouging. There's going to be a reckoning, and the reckoning has begun. And some of the FANG companies are starting to see it, and there's going to be more of that, and there'll be a lot of gnashing of teeth associated with it. But, be wise with regards to how you go about downsizing or rightsizing or whatever you want to call it. It's going to be painful, but you need to be leaders, number one, as executives, and two, you need to develop your organization to constantly be updating the design, customer in, and when you have to cut, do some of the leadership types of things associated with reducing your own salaries and bonuses, and then focusing in then on support areas and managers rather than the customer-facing people that actually create value in your organization. That was my message this week, and remember, there is always a better way.